You can really see my eyebrows now. Holy cow. Hey everyone, welcome back to Monster Life Adventures. It's Jen. This is a solo video for me, and it is going to be very candid, and it's going to hopefully not be very emotional. I'm going to try to keep the waterworks at a minimum, and it's going to really be we're going to be talking a lot about my weight loss journey and things that are coming up, and the reason why I've made some of the choices that I've made to help me get to where I need to be. So I'm gonna hopefully not try to ramble too much. If I do, bear with me please, because I've got a lot going on up here, and I just want to kind of get it out. One of the biggest reasons that I wanted to do this is because I do want to document, because 5 years from now, I want to be able to look back and kind of see how far I've come. And I also, one of my main goals in life is to be an inspiration to others. So I'm hoping that my personal journey may also help somebody else out there. Buckle in, it's going to be a very interesting ride. So one thing that I want to preface this with is this. My decisions are my own. My research is my own. And what I'm doing, I'm not a doctor. And I will not advocate for you to do what I'm doing unless you have been told by a doctor to do this. And on the other hand of that, I want to also plainly say to the people that want to leave negative comments, which hasn't happened yet, which I'm thankful for, but I'm assuming at some point they will. I see you and I hear you, but you don't bother me because I've done my own research, and I think a lot of the comments do come from a lack of knowledge. So I'm going to leave that at there. And I probably won't entertain negative comments on the videos. I probably just won't respond to them just because that's who I am. I don't want to say anything that's going to start a fight or cause anything. I'm just gonna be who I am. This is mine and Bob's little corner of the internet. So that's what we are. We're doing what we feel is good for us, and you know, you don't have to watch, to be honest with you. So that being said, Monster Life Adventures is all about reality. It's all about what our real life is. Yes, we want to share our adventures with you, but we also are trying to share more behind the scenes, more of like who we are as a couple. And I think that's always been our dream, always been able to share our lives with people in the hopes that we can be an inspiration. So in the video previously, we had talked about me doing weight loss surgery. And of course, by the time you see this video, I would have already done it. But I kind of want to go over the history that I've had to deal with, as well as what made me kind of wake up and realize I needed help, and so forth. So I will tell you that I feel like I remember being overweight when I was a child. Maybe not as much as some that you would think. I think that there was some part of me that was kind of active, but I don't think I was a skinny mini either. Like, I wasn't a skinny child. I feel like I did have a little bit of meat on me, but also when I look back, I've always been told I'm big boned too. So we need to have a larger than normal frame, which is something else that kind of was always told to me, you know. And it's like the words big are kind of, it kind of has a whole negative context. So when puberty hit, like most kids do, I changed quite a bit, and I did gain quite a bit of weight. There was, I don't want to go too deep into it because I also don't want to blame anybody. What I will tell you is this. I know that my paternal family always struggled with their weight. That whole side of my family was very, very severely obese. So it was more of like a disease at this point, like not healthy whatsoever. In fact, my grandmother on my paternal side, she actually died from diabetes, which I think type 2 is the type that you get for eating too much, not following a good diet. I think that's the one. I think type 1 is the one that you're born with and is just completely genetic. I can't remember whichever the one it is that you get when you don't follow a good diet for over a long period of time. She was diagnosed fairly early on in life. I would think probably maybe when she was in her 40s and 50s, somewhere around there. And she didn't do the right things. And so it got worse and worse and worse as she aged. To the point where I am remembering her having to be like she started losing some of her toes. And from what I have been told is the reason of her death was that she died from the effects of gangrene because she didn't want to lose her leg. And so she refused to let them cut it off, but it was because she fell and broke something that would cause that. And it was all attributed to her diabetes. I remember really early on when I was a kid, her giving herself insulin shots. Like, that's something that was part of my childhood. My dad has always been like in that upper 400, 500 range as well. Like, that's always been a thing. It's all I remember, I've never seen him lower than that. You know what I mean? When I look back at it, I have, I guess, what you would call a genetic component to being severely obese. And when I do my research, genetics can influence the hormones that you have that do control your hunger. It does control your fullness signals. And I remember when I was a kid, I had no fullness signal. Like, I would always be asking for seconds and thirds, and that was just how I lived. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it until, of course, I hit my teenage years. And then that's when pretty much everything kind of started. Preteen, teenage years into adulthood, that's when I realized, oh wow, I'm kind of bigger than most people. And for me, there's a lot of things that we know now that we could have known back then, but it is what it is. There's no point in living in the past, because it's not going to change. That brings me to what has happened in my most recent. So let me just go ahead and let you know that my preteens, okay, as early as my preteens, I was put on the fad diet, the cabbage soup diet. Super dangerous for a kid. So dangerous. I would never recommend that. In fact, when I told some friends that I was on the cabbage soup diet, they got so mad at me. I mean, I was doing what I thought was the right thing because my family was like, okay, let's try this. But no, cabbage soup diet is not something you'd ever try unless you have doctor's orders to do so. I would never recommend it. But when I got into my adulthood, I kind of moved out my own, and it was like freedom. Like, I could do whatever I wanted. I could eat whatever I wanted. No one was going to look at me any kind of a way. No one was going to tell me, no, you can't have seconds. Nobody was going to tell me nothing, right? So there was a component of being incorrectly taught about what a good diet is. And, I'm not going to say that I wasn't ever told, you shouldn't eat that, blah, blah, blah. But I think that there was a way that it could have been done to maybe teach me better, I guess. Because I really didn't learn about what a good diet would look like probably well into my late 20s, early 30s. At that point, I have already tried the Atkins, the keto. I've tried, there was a frozen frozen meal plan. It wasn't, I can't remember which one it was, but it was way back, maybe 20, 30 years ago. I remember ordering frozen meals from that specific company to see if I could lose weight, and it was not that great, honestly. But I have tried almost everything under the sun. Whenever I tell people my weight, they're like, "Oh, you don't look that big." Same thing when I tell them my age. They're like, "Oh, you don't look that old." Okay, so that kind of gets into your head. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'm not so big. Maybe I can do whatever I'm doing, and I can just maintain, and I'll be fine. All right, well, unfortunately, I didn't maintain. I ballooned because I was like, okay, I could just continue eating the things that I'm wanting to eat. There's a lot that went into it. I'm gonna kind of stop there because I feel like I'm rambling about it, and I don't want to seem like I'm giving excuses, because these are definitely not excuses. I've been doing a lot of reflecting lately about how I got to where I am now. Because I would try things, for a certain amount of time, and they would do well, but they would never stick, right? I would get frustrated when I didn't see any changes in my body and didn't see anything changing on the scale. And then I would just like, oh, well, maybe I can have an order of fries with my salad or something. And I would just make these allowances, and eventually I would just go back to what I was doing before. And then there was a lot of mental with it too. To be honest with you, if I really, really am being 100% candid and honest, I'm happy with who I am as a person, but I do not love my body. And the only person I have to blame is myself, because it was my responsibility to take care of my body. As I have gotten older, I have realized that things are starting to not work the way they're supposed to work. So, I think the first red flag I got, like the first, like, oh no, I've got to do something, was in, I think it was right at the beginning of COVID, and I can't remember if it was 2020 or 2021. I can't remember exactly. It was 2020. And I fell and tore my ACL, ripped it clean in half. I went to a surgeon, and he said, I can't operate on you because you're too overweight. So I was basically left to not be able to walk. I used a scooter. I had crutches. I remember being sent home to work, and there were times that I wouldn't leave the house for 2 to 3 months at a time. And then I was told, okay, maybe you should just go get a second opinion. Maybe there's got to be someone that's going to help you. So I got a second opinion, and a wonderful surgeon. He's like, yeah, sure, I am happy to operate on your leg. We're going to get you all squared away. He's like, there's no point in you waiting, sitting here trying to lose weight when you can't even walk. So he was able to get my ACL repaired. He got a whole new ACL in there, and that was great. And about shortly after, a couple weeks after my operation, I got set up from my primary. She set me up with a place called, it was the hospital network that I was in, and they had like a weight and fitness management center. So I would be going to see them every week for a while, and I finally got, like, I was finally in a spot where I was like, okay, I can do some fitness, and I can do some good eating, and we were ordering frozen meals that were like no preservatives or anything like that, because it was easier for time wise. We were losing weight finally. And things were starting to change. And then in 2023, we came all the way down to Florida for our very first time to go to Disney World. And I remember, like, I'll even put a picture of it. One of my favorite pictures of myself is me. Our very first ride that we rode was Ride of Resistance. And I remember it was like coming off that ride so full of adrenaline, and just like Bob snapped a picture of me with my arms up because I was like, I did it. I was able to ride this ride. And because it was one of the ones we were worried about fitting into. When we got home, things just kind of went downhill again. Like, we stopped doing what we were following. And we started regaining everything that we had lost back. I say we, I mean, I did. I know Bob did as well. But, so fast forward to, 2024, I believe. I was going to school full time. And I had a very stressful job. It was a very toxic environment, but it was also very stressful. And I'm going to be honest with you, at that point, I was at a point where I was like, I used to love my job, but now I dread going in. And so the only thing I could do is food was always a comfort for me. So I was just turning to food. I mean, I was trying to stay consistent, but most days, I was just doing whatever I wanted because I was just too tired to care. In spring, with all of that mental load going on, I walked out of my apartment and witnessed a shooting. And I just had a mental breakdown. I remember going across the street, calling my boss. He told me to go back home. And I went to my doctor. And what happened was a couple of days later, I went back to work and I couldn't focus. There was nothing I could do. I was literally just sitting in my office and just not getting anything done. And my boss was like, you need to call your doctor and you need to go on leave. So I called my doctor. I was in tears in my doctor's office, and she's like, you're not going back for 30 days. You can't even compose yourself. Those first 2 weeks of that 30 days, I was crying so hard because I didn't want to go back to work. I was at a breaking point, right? And at that point, Bob and I had already planned to move to Florida by the end of the year. That was our goal. When our leases ended up, we were going to go ahead and move down here. So the conversation kind of moved up the timeline. It's like, should we move now? Well, no, I went back to work for about a month. And it's kind of funny because I was still struggling. I was still having a hard time. Like, my heart was not into my job anymore. I was not doing what was good for me, physically. I was not eating good. It was not a good situation whatsoever. And of course, you're going to be gaining weight from that. Finally, what happened was, our dryer went out. And we were so sick and tired of dealing with apartment management that we're like, you know what? Screw it. We're moving in 2 weeks. That's literally what happened. So I took the day off work and I found us an apartment. I was like, let's figure this out. And so in a whirlwind, we moved down here in 2 weeks. And of course that was a little stressful, but I remember leaving my job that day and kind of feeling a little relief. Bob and I had talked about me taking some time off work just to kind of figure out mentally what was going on, try to get myself straightened again. And I did spend that year, before I got a job, to kind of like try a couple different things that I've always wanted to try. I still wasn't eating the way I was supposed to. I would dabble in a little bit of exercise. But it just didn't ever stick. So as much as I've tried, there's always going to be a little part of me, because always going to be an all or nothing type of girl. That's just who I am as a person. I'm always all or nothing. There's always going to be a little part of me like, well, did I try hard enough? But at some point, there's got to be a breaking point in terms of like when you look at yourself in the mirror, like, is this who I want to be for the rest of my life? The ACL surgery was probably the beginning of that, right? It was part of like okay, we've got to really do something about this. And in the next few years, I was, you know, on and off, like eating good and exercising and then going back off again, right? So what really started me to get me down towards the, okay, I should probably consider bariatric surgery, was I started noticing I couldn't walk in the Disney parks as much anymore. Like my knees would hurt, my lower back would hurt, I would be shuffling. My walk was so slow. It was somewhat embarrassing because I'm sitting here just shuffling, you know what I mean? Well, people are just kind of zoom, zoom, zoom across me, you know? I don't think that should be normal. Like I'm only 42 years old, you know, so I should be able to take a lap around World Showcase with no problem, not having to sit down at all. Like that should be something I'm able to do, but I can't. As I said in the last video, the one thing that triggered the whole bariatric conversation was we were at Disney Springs one day, and I can't even remember what we were there for, but I popped into a bathroom and there was a full-length mirror, and I looked at myself and I said, wow, it's not going away. Like this weight is just staying here. I can't get it to do anything. I came out of the bathroom, I'm like, I immediately told Bob, I said, I think I need to consider bariatric surgery. Like I think it's time for me. And so I started the whole process. And honestly, the whole process was very, very easy. It's for my insurance, for whatever reason, it wasn't that hard. I have to go through a specific group with my insurance to get a nurse that calls me 3 times during the process. She called me the first time to set up the whole process. And then she's going to call me after surgery, and then she'll call me, I think, like 6 months later or something like that. But once I got her call, she's like, okay, so you need to pick a place, and it's got to be one of these places, and you can make an appointment. So I made an appointment. I think it was January 29th. I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember exactly, but that was supposed to be my consult. And he immediately was like, yeah, it sounds like you have done the things that you know to do. And it sounds like you're in the right headspace for this. So let's do it. So I'm having the gastric bypass. And one of the biggest things is that I am having to do that because I have the acid reflux. So I've been doing a lot of research about it too. So like there's a lot into it. But after that consult, I was given a checklist of things to do. I had to poop in a bucket because I had to check for any things in my stomach. And I had to take antibiotics when they found that I had an infection. So that was fun. I had to take I had to do a psych eval, which she's like past me. And then I had to get my primary to sign off on it. And she was the one who's like, yeah, we got to do this. So, she signed off on me. We did an EKG, and it was a fairly simple checklist, and it took less than a month to do. So I will be having my weight loss surgery. So I went from January 29th, I believe, to March 10th is when I'm having my surgery. And let me tell you, it's not an easy process, and it's not an easy way out. What essentially you're doing in surgery is 100% a tool. So it's like a tool, just like you have a weight scale. It is a tool to help you lose weight. What it's doing is, I don't know the sciencey words around it, but it's adjusting your hormones so that you have your hunger cues are faster. And of course you have the smaller pouch for your stomach. That's fine, but your hormones is going to help regulate your fullness cues, right? And that's the genetic part. That's where my genetic is. Like, I don't have those as loud as some other people may do. Now, as I've gotten older, I've gotten better at trying to figure out what my fullness cues are. But when I was much younger, they were not there, right? So it is going to resolve that piece. And then I think that what is actually going to be interesting is at some point you can introduce the foods again, right? It's like not like you can't ever eat your favorite foods again. You may not like them anymore, but you still could try them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with trying them. My surgeon team has always told me, they're like, moderation is key. We do not believe in you removing something specific from your diet forever unless your stomach just can't handle it. 1 to 2 years from now, maybe I'll be able to have a slice of pizza. Who knows? What I do know is that it is going to be life-changing. So right now I'm on the pre-op diet. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably the hardest thing I have ever done in terms of diets. It's basically, it's 2 to 3 protein drinks a day and 1 solid meal of 4 ounces of protein and half a cup of starchy veggies. Again, let me reiterate, do not do this diet unless your doctor has put you on it for some reason. It is not sustainable and is not healthy for the average person. This is to help me reduce my liver size, my fatty liver, so that they're able to operate with fewer complications. That's the whole point of this. So, and loads of water. I'm drinking like maybe 120 ounces of water right now. I'm bound and determined. It's like, for me, yeah, I could eat the bag of chips that's over there on the counter because Bob's not going through this right now. He'll be going through it soon. But I am terrified of having a complication. And I want to make sure I'm doing everything in my power to do the right thing and follow the rules so that I do not have any type of complications. After surgery, I'm a little terrified of not knowing how to combat the emotional eating. And that's why I have a therapist appointment lined up. I'm trying to set myself up for success so that I can ensure that this is a life-changing surgery for me. Because once I do this, there's no going back. Now, let me rewind there. You can go back. There is nothing stopping you from regrowing or stretching out your stomach again. But for me, that's not an option. I said earlier that one of the things is I don't love my body. I'm hoping that by doing this surgery, I'm going to have some sort of love for what my body is. I've been trying to start before, like you can tell, like I have these eyebrows and I've never put eyebrow makeup on before. They're just they're so wild. They're just like wow in your face, and I can't get used to them. But I think it looks like my eyes kind of pop out just a little bit. I don't know, but I've been trying to do more of this and this and trying to make me feel better about myself. But when I look at myself in the mirror, all I see are my rolls. And they're not the good kind of rolls either. I'm hoping that I will be able to have a better body image after this surgery. But that's not even the number one thing on my list, to be honest with you. That's not my number one goal. I want to be able to move without pain. I want to be able to walk in our Disney parks. I told Bob the other day, I says, I think once they open up the new Monsters roller coaster and I'm actually able to fit in it, I'm probably going to cry. So there is a lot to look forward to, and it is kind of overwhelming. But I kind of wanted to share with you guys, like, where I'm going and the whole process that I've been in so far. And I kind of want to do some more content on this too, just because I'm hoping that I'm reaching somebody that has the same or a similar background as I do, or is doing a similar journey as I am. People call these their health journeys, and that's awesome for them. But we're all about adventures here, so I think I'm going to call this my health adventure. Just because adventurers are about highs and lows, and also going for that treasure chest at the end of the dotted line. Yeah, this adventure will be part of the channel for sure. I'm going to probably do a lot more content regarding it. It's not going to be the only thing, I promise. It's not going to be the only thing that we're going to do on the channel. But I do want to show the good and the hard parts, because I'll do like some sort of like short regarding like what I'm able to eat in a day during the pre-op diet. But I want to share this journey, I want to share it, and hopefully I can inspire somebody else to maybe get the help they need, or kind of give them an idea of what it looks like. Again, this is not an easy decision. It's not an easy way out. It is taking my life back. It's being able to be proud of who I am as a person, inside and out. And yeah. Anyway, I know it was a heavy type of conversation. Again, this is just me documenting my thoughts and my feelings. I'm sorry it was so rambly, because I know it was. I know how rambly this was, but that's okay. It was just me talking and trying to gather all my thoughts pre-surgery, and yeah, I'll update you guys once I'm out of surgery, and more content to follow. Again, I really, really appreciate those that are a part of our family already. You guys mean the world to us. And just know, if you're going through this too, you're not alone. I will be your bestie, and we can do this together. But that's it for now. I really appreciate you. Love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful, fantastic evening and night.